During a meeting, the manager stands at the front running through slides. No one in the room is listening. Blue light from phone screens reflects upward off every lowered face. Someone ordering food delivery, someone checking match scores, someone just scrolling up and down, taking in nothing, only needing the motion. The meeting ends. Everyone files out. No one discusses what was just presented because it didn't matter, and there'll be another one next week. The same logic governs the commute in and the commute out. Arrive exactly on time, never a minute early. Leave exactly at 5, never a minute late. At 5:59, the bag is already packed, the coat already on, eyes fixed on the clock in the corner, waiting for the number to tick. Overtime with no extra pay. Agree out loud, don't move a finger. A message arrives from the manager. The red dot appears, you see it, you turn the phone face down on the desk. Not because you didn't see it, because you haven't decided yet whether to reply. Almost every office worker recognizes this picture. We usually call it slacking off or lying flat, or why push yourself. We assume it's laziness or disengagement or what naturally happens after you stop caring about your work. But one person saw this clearly in 1985 and gave it a completely different name. James C. Scott was an American political scientist. In 1985, he published a book called Weapons of the Weak. He spent a long period living in a Malaysian village called Sudakar, studying how the farmers there responded to dispossession brought by landlords and the Green Revolution. He found something. These farmers rarely resisted openly, but they never truly submitted. They dragged their feet. They worked just hard enough to pass. They circulated stories of landlord scandals behind closed doors, gave miserly rich men humiliating nicknames. They attended the feasts of wealthy patrons, then left immediately after eating, observing the bare minimum of courtesy while making something unmistakable clear: I am not genuinely with you. Scott called these behaviors, collectively, weapons of the weak. Not uprisings, not strikes, not any form of open confrontation, but these small, everyday, unorganized yet spontaneously coordinated acts of passive resistance. Workplace slacking is the same weapon. This weapon works because of one precondition. When only 1 or 2 employees are slacking, the boss can fire them at any time. But when everyone is slacking, the boss faces a different problem. There is no specific person to hold accountable, because there is no organization, no leader, no identifiable resistor to target. He could fire everyone, but then he would have no one left. This problem has a name: irreplaceability. The weapon bites because the weak hold one chip: you need me. Even if I do little, even if I comply in word and not in deed, you still need me to do this thing. The chip isn't large, but it exists. It is precisely this chip that gives collective, passive resistance its real political force. The farmers of Sudakar knew this. Today's workers know it too, even if they've never read Scott. But this chip is being quietly removed. AI is here, and it arrived quickly. Not the dramatic scenario of science fiction, but one specific job after another becoming replaceable or compressible or simply gone. Customer service, copywriting, data analysis, basic code, translation. These jobs won't all vanish tomorrow, but they require fewer and fewer people, and the trend is accelerating. When a person can be replaced by a model, the chip that says you need me begins to lose its value. The deterrence of slacking rests on you can't fire all of us, but if firing you means access to something cheaper, more reliable, and incapable of slacking, that deterrence disappears. The world Scott described was one where the weak, at least, still held a chip. What we are entering is a world where even that chip is being dissolved. The weapons of the weak are losing their edge. Once they've lost it, a narrative is already waiting to move in. You were left behind because you weren't good enough, because you didn't adapt in time, because you weren't hard-working enough, flexible enough, valuable enough. This is your failure. This narrative is structurally identical to what the wealthy told dispossessed farmers decades ago. The farmer is poor because he's lazy, because he brought it on himself, not because the Green Revolution handed his livelihood to a machine, not because the landlord used the law to take his land. It is a narrative of personal failure, and its function is to convert structural problems into moral ones, to transform institutional dispossession into individual guilt. The AI era version works the same way, taking a large-scale structural shift and rendering it as the personal failure of each specific person. Before the chip disappears entirely, one thing is worth doing first: not learning a new skill, not embracing change, not staying competitive. These aren't wrong, but they are answers, given from within the narrative's own premises. The prior step is to see the narrative itself clearly. This is not your failure. Not because you didn't try hard enough. Not because you weren't good enough. A massive structural shift is underway, and it affects not a few insufficiently motivated individuals. It affects nearly everyone. Seeing this clearly won't get you a new job. It won't make AI disappear. It won't solve a single practical problem. But it does one specific thing. It keeps you from internalizing someone else's problem as your own failure. Scott didn't write that book to teach farmers how to win. He was only making one thing visible. These people never truly believed the narrative that oppressed them. Behind closed doors, they knew clearly who was right and who was wrong. That clarity was the precondition for everything else. The chip can be taken, but no one can take away how you understand what is happening. You have to be standing steady before you can think about what comes next.